Hello, I'm Gux, Gooks, or Gookex. Today, we're going to be discussing how to target a sweat in your Warthunder arcade games. Have you ever had a game where you queue in and there's just one guy on the other team destroying your entire team? Well, today I'm going to show you an easy way of how to deal with them. Before we start, I'd like to preface this video by saying that I'm not using the word sweat here in a derogatory or hurtful manner, and I have my full respect toward the person I mentioned in this game. To keep it short, you can pause to read my personal opinion here. Today, I have a game that I want to show you. Now, it wasn't a particularly high kill game, only 14 kills without dying, but what's important is that it's a good example game that you can learn from. Of course, when you spawn in, climb. Climbing is the most important thing you could ever do. While you're climbing, I like to do a quick scan of the enemy team and check who's a threat. I do this by pressing into the tab menu and double-clicking each person, then clicking escape. If anyone's a high level, I'm going to go into the statistics tab to check their stats. Now that I check the respawns tab and the air targets destroyed tab, and I do some quick math in my head to determine a rough ratio of their top planes. Compare this to your personal kills per spawn, and you should get a good baseline of how good they are compared to you. When I spawned in, I immediately see a VL Pyro on the enemy team. The Pyro is a very scary plane, and I know it's spelled the Pior, but I'm going to call it the Pyro because that sounds cooler. Paired with an experienced pilot, the Pyro turns very deadly very quickly, and the guy flying it, Mr. Arjuna 25, is very experienced, with almost 1,000 games and 3,000 kills in this thing. After I see this guy, I immediately ping him to my team and to tell my team to focus him. Now, I don't expect many people to actually listen to me and go for him, but at least this will make my teammates more aware of him and less likely to die to him. I'm flying the P-47D-28, which loses to the Pyro in almost every aspect, except engine power and climb. The D-28 has a monstrous engine, producing 2,700 horsepower in WEP, which makes up for the brick of the flight model it gets. In arcade, you see what everyone is flying, and you know what you're flying, so you can use this to determine how you should play. Use your plane's strong suits and press that advantage as much as possible. I just climbed. However, I'm not very far above him, so I start turning to the side to make him engage my team first and let me climb more. However, I see a free kill and take it, all while constantly looking back to make sure the Pyro isn't chasing me. I turn around and see a 109 coming towards me, and the Pyro's busy with someone else. I take the head-on, but unfortunately only get a hit. Now, I'm very close to the Pyro, and I look back to see if the 109's able to catch me, which he isn't. The Pyro was just in a dogfight, so I unleash my 850 cals upon him, and I manage to severe him, and he's going to be out of the fight. This is very crucial. Now that I've killed him once, I can use my superior altitude to start snowballing him. In the background, 3 guys managed to crash, and I continue the game as normal. I go for a P-36 that's going incredibly slow, and I turn towards the enemy spawn, which is when I see that Arjuna 25 has spawned in a J-22. I check his lineup, and I see that he isn't just going to leave after one death. Normally, this isn't great since I have to be wary of him during this whole match, but for the purpose of the video, this is amazing. Now, even though I need to be alert of him, the J-22 isn't a particularly scary plane, especially at such a big altitude disadvantage, so I take the time to go get some free kills. However, after overcommitting a bit to the year 2, I'm below them. However, I make sure to extend away and regain my energy advantage. I make sure to check the separation between me and the enemy. And now that I feel comfortable, I turn around to attack again. However, Mr. Arjuna 25 in the J-22 pitches directly up for me, and I start the energy spiral to deny him the easy shot. He has nowhere enough energy to follow me up, so I pull in. However, he dives away. I take some pot shots at him from distance, but don't overcommit. Keep in mind that my goal in this game is not to focus this guy down. I only need him out of the way so I can kill the rest of the enemy team. By forcing him to dive to the deck, I make him bleed all of his energy, essentially making myself untouchable by him, and also makes him vulnerable to my team who's also on the deck. Now that Mr. Scary Man is on the deck, I can kill some people in the enemy spawn. Now that I see Mr. Scary Man has spawned in a backup Pyro, and I didn't have a very large energy advantage, I begin to climb away. However, when trying to spiral a P-51, I make a mistake, and now the Pyro and P-51 are very close to me, so I have to extend. I'm very easily outrunning the P-51, but the Pyro begins taking shots at me, so I tap the rudder to dodge. This makes it so I don't lose a lot of energy, but since he's shooting from distance, it's enough to dodge. I realize that I'm not going to be able to just easily outclimb him, as our separation remains about the same this whole fight, so I start flying towards my team's spawn, pinging the enemy to tell my teammates to attack him. At this point, the P-51 breaks off, and I have a friendly Spitfire coming in to help. I start preemptively turning around, as if the Spitfire breaks off and goes for the Spitfire, I get shots on him, and if he stays on me, the Spitfire gets easy shots on him. Since he's basically stalled, I can further bait him up in case the Spitfire misses. Luckily for us, the Pyro's too focused on me and gets his wingtip taken off by the Spitfire. However, I want to make sure he's completely out of the fight, and since I'm so high up and close to my spawn after that chase, I can afford to dive a bit. I don't manage to kill him, but he's once again on the deck, and he's gonna go down soon. I start climbing back towards their spawn again, and actually while checking the scoreboard, I realize that Arjuna 25 is spawning in a backup J22. Since nobody else is in their spawn, I decided it would be funny to just dive on him. However, he sees me and dives for the airfield. I try to do my best to shoot him, but I'm closing in quite fast and I miss my first pass. Not to worry, since I can just extend away from the airfield with my massive energy advantage. This is in order to bait him into coming out of the AA coverage so I can get a proper fight. He takes pot shots, but with some light rudder taps, he's never going to hit that. Unfortunately, he decides to stay on the deck, which prevents me from diving on him as it would expose me to the fresh spawns that are coming from their spawn and also the nearby airfield AA. After this, I go around killing some people, and after killing a 109, Arjuna 25 and another A36 are behind me. I'm able to extend from Arjuna 25, however, the A36 is starting to gain on me. Although the A36 is gaining on me, I still do want to create some separation between me and Arjuna, since the A36 has bad energy retention and I think I can stall him quite easily. I begin a very shallow left rudder turn, and as I have the better energy retention and climb than the A36, and I want to abuse this. At this point, the A36 is very close, and I have Arjuna energy trapped, so I start tightening the loop and begin pulling vertical. This is quite a risky play, since I know the A36 has the energy to get the shot, but I just barely managed to dodge his rounds, and with some of them causing very minor damage to the fuselage. Now, he doesn't have the energy to pull lead, so I continue my loop, and pull in to get the easy shot, because he's completely falling out of the air at this point. Arjuna 25 is still on the deck, so I have an open kill. Now Arjuna 25 pitches straight vertical for the head-on, which I dodge, as I don't really want to take a 50-50 with a guy that I can very easily kill in an energy trap. I dodge his rounds and begin spiraling, abusing my energy advantage. However, he notices this and breaks off, and I quickly try to chase him down. I take some shots, but he does a very good job of dodging, and I only get hits. Now, he continues diving, so I climb again, since I'm in their spawn and don't want to lose too much energy. However, as soon as he sees me pitch up, he pitches up directly for me. If you're watching this, you should not have done that. Although you're technically on my 6, you have so much less energy than me, and since you just did all of those barrel rolls to dodge, we just got into the exact same position we were just in, and I get another opportunity to shoot you. I was probably going to ignore you if you just flew away, since I'm in the spawn and need altitude. I actually do manage to hit the 50 cals, but of course, it's only a hit. And I end today's match by chasing him down and manage to kill him. And that's going to do it for today's video. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully you learned something, and